Welcome to Etude number 8, part 2. This is all part of the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge, learning 12 etudes across 12 months. So let's dive into the fantastic melodic second section of this study. Okay, the main points for the next 3 micro-studies are: melody must stand out, and this is done through right hand fine control. So remember from way back in etude number 1, thinking about having volume dials on your hands. Dial down the parts of the voices you don't need, which in this case would be the accompaniment and then a little bit of the bass. And that makes the other voice that you do need stand out. Don't try and play harder or put more energy in. That's not how it's done on the classical guitar. Second thing, and this is really important, and we're going to dive through that in a minute, use chord shapes. Practice the chord shapes. This entire second section is made up of just a fantastic series of chord shapes with a right hand pattern. Guide finger. Finger number 4 is going to be the guide finger pretty much for most, not all, but for most of the melody. So use that, and obviously, as usual, laser ahead. Last but not least, you are going to need a little bit or maybe even a lot of vibrato to keep some of the notes on, especially higher up the fretboard where they go across 2 bars. Okay, welcome to micro study number 5. We are going to just step through the chord shapes for it first and then the right hand pattern. Micro study number 5 kicks off with a C minor chord shape. So that's just your A minor shape shifted up to the 4th fret. But we have the 7th in the melody there. So again, remember, don't squeeze with your thumb. Pull back a little bit on the bar chord. So there we go, first chord shape. Second chord shape is a straight F sharp minor chord. Again, this is from an E minor shape. Villa-Lobos has taken that out, he's putting the 7th in the middle. And then the melody note is a 9th. Third chord shape, we have E in the bass and A sharp minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished, and then all he's doing is he's shifting it down to an A minor 7 flat 5 half diminished, but leaving the melody note on. So we get this. And that is it. Those are the 3 chord shapes. So if needs be, just practice them. By this point, hopefully you have those chord shapes in mind. Most of them relate back to open strings, and if you need be, this is all part of the cage system as well. There is a video I've done on that, and you can check that out for getting all of your chord shapes down and sorted so that you know what you're doing on the fretboard. And the first bar is, second bar uses the 6th string, and then the 3rd and 4th bars use the 6th string as well. That gives us that Brazilian folk feel to this music. That's where it comes from. There's like a little bit of a loop, and then it comes back, and then a loop. Right, let's take a look at that in depth. Welcome to micro study number 5. We kick off with the C minor 7 chord. Bass and melody together. And then it's going to be P. So your thumb here again is going to have to dial down. The bass needs to be loud, but this bit does not need to be as loud. So we've got bass and melody, P, M, I, P, M, I. And then it's a guide finger down with the 4th into 2nd position. Again, bass and melody first, P, M, I, P, M, I. And then it's a guide finger up, you need to laser ahead to 9. Bass and melody, P, M, I, P, M, I, P, M, I. So there we have a bit of a change. So we have the melody note hanging over, and then we have P, M, I together, P, M, I, P, M, I. And that's it. So again, be aware of the right hand patterns and be aware of where your hands are doing. It's all chord shapes. The right hand is mainly doing most of the heavy lifting here. Welcome to micro study number 6. Let's just dive into the chord shapes. At the heart of the next 4 bars, starting at bar 21, is this triad. Now you can think of it as an A major triad if you want, that's fine, but that is the heart of the next 4 micro studies. And then around that, Villa-Lobos messes with the bass and the melody to pull and push and basically create polytonal chords. So on the first bar we have what sounds on the surface like a B chord of some description, but isn't because of the A major triad in the middle. So again, everything for the next 4 bars is second finger bowed and pull back. We then have A major chord, third finger on the G sharp, fourth finger on the A. Barre drops down to free up the open A string. There's your A major triad in the middle, and then we hit A. Then we go back to a full barre across 2, but this time we have a G sharp and an F sharp. G sharp in the bass, F sharp, third finger on the G sharp, and again in the middle. Finally we come to the last bar, which has an F sharp and an E, so Villa-Lobos then moves the chord up. So instead of having the C sharp on our second string, we have a C sharp on our 5th string, and then he does a suspension with a D sharp as well. And that is it in essence. And again, please practice these on their own. So here we go, first chord. Two right hand patterns, the first pattern which we've already seen, and then we have a second pattern coming in at bar 22, and then that pattern then stays constant. So once you've broken it down into those component parts, you will find putting them together and playing them so much easier. Let's take a look. Welcome to micro study number 6. We're going to dive straight in. We have a barre pretty much across the 2nd fret. All it does is drop down in bar 22 to free up the A string, and then goes back across all 6 strings. From the beginning we have bass melody, and then P, M, I. Then we have a new right hand pattern coming in. So we have 22, we have new right hand pattern. Melody note is the 3rd finger on G sharp to an A on the 5th fret. And again we have P doing double duties here, where it's doing bass line and then a middle voice. And then the melody is A finger. That rhythm moves back to the original rhythm, where we do G sharp in the bass with the 3rd finger and a full bar across 2nd. So again, no other fingers needed, it's a 1 finger chord except for the 3rd finger. And then the last bar we have F sharp and E, 1 and 4th fingers consecutively, a 3rd finger on a C sharp, and then the 4th finger is going to go down. Bass and melody, PMI, A, PMI. Let's take a look at that in slow motion. Welcome to micro study number 7. We've only got 2 chords here, so it's relatively simple. In terms of chords. In terms of chord shapes, there's 2 ways of playing the first chord, but let's take a look. The first way of playing it is all open strings. This is an E7 augmented chord, which gives you this sound. Lovely sound. That's due to the sharp 5, the B sharp in the middle of that chord. The fingering here is important, so here it is open, open, 3rd finger, 2nd finger. There's a reason for that, because you're going to use a guide finger to shift up to the next chord, which has a D sharp in it. Then the second way of playing bar 25 is actually to play it up at the 5th fret and to fret all those open strings. So we've got an E, we've got a D, we've got a B sharp and a G sharp. The only reason for really doing that is to just make it easier to shift to the next chord. Either way, whether you shift from first position up or from 5th position down, it doesn't really matter. It depends on which tone you want and your fingering preferences. That is bar 25. Bar 26 is nothing more than a G sharp dominant 7th chord, because we're going to be heading here. So we have a 5-1 from Villa-Lobos, but he makes it more interesting by taking a shape and juxtaposing it against an A, open A string. So we get this, then you'd get that flat 2 sound, so lovely clash there. Microstudy 7 only has one right hand pattern. Welcome to Microstudy number 7. We're going to go with the open string version first. So here we have bass and melody, and then we have open D, 3-2 on the B and 3-2 on the B sharp and G sharp, and then shift it up to guide finger number 3, guide finger 3, first finger on a G sharp, second finger and fourth finger on a B sharp again, or C. The main point here is to try and get the clearance, to get that clash. It's quite tough once you get these other fingers in, so you need to just bring your fingers round. Thank you very much for staying until the end. This is all part of the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge, which is hosted by classicalguitarrocks.com. There are a load of freebies over there, so take the link below or follow the link in the description.